Okay, let's go.
Hey, you guys, happy Tuesday. So good to be here with you. I'm realizing I have a navy blue shirt on and the blue lights behind. I'm kind of in a blue mood, but blue as in happy, not sad blue. Hey, I was loving seeing all the names already, people joining us. Suzanne, you made it. You made it this Tuesday. That's awesome. Hi, Peggy and Robin, Candace. Candace, so good to see you here. Kathy from Ohio. Katie. Hi, Katie. Hope you're doing well. Whoop, whoop. Hi, Adam. Good to see you as well. Emily, Jan Huntsville. So good. Just so good to be here with you. So, we are going to be talking social media tonight. And so I want to make sure you guys are able to ask your questions. Now, we talked about Hailey Julia joining us, and we're having a little bit of a technical glitch. So, we're waiting on her. So this is what you call vamping for a little bit to see if we're able to get her in. And one way or another, though, we are going to talk social media. So don't give up on us. Stick with us. We're going to have a very good conversation about that. So good to see you guys. Lauren, Gil, and Casey, and Allie, Carolyn. So good to see you. Oh, Candace, someone else just told me that blue is my color, and I've never thought it was. And they were commenting on, I was wearing something blue, like a little lighter blue, and they were commenting on it. And I thought, well, that's good. That's good because, someone very close to me likes the color blue. So I'm all for that. All right. Adam, love vamping. I love it. Hi, Jenny from Knoxville. Virginia gal. Looks like you're having some good weather. Allie from Coeur d'Alene. I'm going to make it up to Coeur d'Alene one of these days. I really am. I'm excited to do that, actually. So, all right. So let me get into, thanks, Kathy. Kathy Patterson has she's complimenting me on my hairstyle, but Kathy, you have the most beautiful hair. The color, everything about it, the life, it's just so beautiful. If I knew my hair would look like that, if I let it go natural, I would do it in a heartbeat, but I'm not sure it will. So for now, I do this. Beck, you can't say bring back the heat. We're all just starting to enjoy some cooler weather. You must love, love, love the heat. Well, someone's got to, right? Someone has to love the heat because it's not me. I like heat for a little while, but prolonged periods of heat are not my favorite thing. But I'm okay with heat if I don't have humidity. You all who live on the East Coast and live with humidity, I don't know how you do it. Don't know how you do it. Peggy, right? Kathy has most beautiful hair, and she is such a joy to be with. That's absolutely true. Hi, Colin. So good to see you. Okay, so Peggy, 106 in Texas. What is up with that? Okay, well, God bless Texas. Yeah. All right. Well, social media. So it's obviously a important topic, and it's becoming even more of a relevant topic day by day because social media is just really so become the primary way of communicating, the primary way of getting content out or notifying. Marketing campaigns are all built around social media. Speaking of which, wait, sorry, I just saw CW Charlie Johnson Jr. 113 in Houston. No, thank you. That is no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm glad you survived it. So anyway, speaking of social media campaigns, I just came to mind I want to remind you all that The Forge, the latest Kendrick Brothers movie opens this weekend, the 23rd, in theaters across the country. So if you are looking for a movie to go see and want to take some friends, that would be awesome. Kennedy is the lead of that movie, along with Priscilla Shire and Cameron Arnett. But Aspen is the young lead, and I want to have him on so we can talk about that process, not only from my perspective of the journey to find him and going through and the search it took to cast that role, which was so vitally important, but then to also hear it from his perspective too. So that's something I'm working on arranging, and I'm going to reach out and get that lined up. I'll let you know. But that I'm watching all of the social media come out in preparation, and that's the biggest way that they're reaching people and getting the word out about the movie coming out and doing like behind the scenes pieces. So social media has become a tool not only for us personally, but also just for companies, corporations, and films and projects and content. So let's see. Robin, you're asking a question, requesting permission to share a verified casting call with the group. It came to me from Crossway Publishing's audio production manager with an ask to share in Christian acting Facebook groups. I am, Robin, why don't you send it to me real quick, so that I can just look at it, and you can just message, and then I can always share it on my Facebook page. If that's good, I'll share it on my Beverly Holloway Casting Facebook page. I just want to have eyes on it before I have it go out. That would be great. So you can just message me with that information, and then I'll take a look. I'll take a look tonight if you want to message me tonight, and then I'll as long as everything looks good, I'll post it. Okay? So that's great. Beck is packing for something. Beck is going somewhere, hopefully somewhere fun. Or if it's work, that's good too, because work is always good. Let's see. Brooklyn, I know. I can't believe well, it's like with any movie we shoot, right? We shoot the movie and it seems so far off before it's going to come out, but it's here. They did a very, very efficient turnaround on that particular film, and I'm excited. A lot of good feedback and a lot of good momentum behind it. I really do. I always say this. I love the cast. We just got some wonderful actors, of course, many of whom you are familiar with, and then of course others who may be new to you. And keep your eye on Aspen Kennedy. Follow his socials. He and his wife are just wonderful, great hearts, and lots of, I think, really wonderful things to share. So yeah. So, okay. So Rhonda, you saw a commercial for The Forge on Hallmark. So of course, I think while TV and cable and all of that is still existing, that will be I don't want to even say primary, but that will be a large source of promotion and PR for movies and content and things. But I don't know. I don't even know if it's like the biggest form anymore, unless you're going to go on the full networks. Now, it makes sense for the Hallmark Channel to be where they would place Forge ads, very targeted ads, on channels that they know are consistent or complementary to the audience they're going after. But as we're talking about social media, let's kind of pull it over. I'll pull it over to the acting side of it. It's been interesting because Aspen Kennedy, and he happens to be married, so he and his wife have started a podcast and are becoming more active on social media. Part of that is as a result of the movie coming out, but it has become this natural kind of partnership. It's something that they were already looking to do. And then the movie has kind of given them a platform to share their heart and to share the things that are important to them, and the content and messages that they want to get out there. And for them, a lot of that has to do with, their faith and their marriage and just living a life that honors God. And then also being in the industry and how that works for them and how they navigate that. So it's been really good because they were ready, meaning Aspen and his wife were ready to step into that platform and that forum. And then the movie comes along and gives them an even more kind of spotlight on that as they're promoting the upcoming movie. And it's kind of, the movie's helping them launch their social media. So it's, whenever you are able to have a platform like that or have an opportunity, you want to be ready for it. You want to be ready and understand how to use social media and what are the options, kind of how to go about that if you don't already have your platform going, right? And it could be something where you have some things going. I know Brooklyn has a podcast, her Consider the Lilies podcast, up and going. So, it's kind of nice because she already has that platform and that presence. If there's an opportunity for her then to combine that with the promotion and marketing for something that she's doing, content or music, things like that. I know, Brooklyn, you've been using your social medias platforms in companionship with your music. So it can be a very, very powerful tool. And tool. Did I say two? I meant tool. um, Let me talk about it from the casting side of things, and then we'll jump in on the other side. From the casting side of things, here's what we're looking for. First of all, I completely recognize your social platforms are yours to do with what you want. So the kind of content you post, the pictures you post, the things you do with your social media platforms are yours. Some people choose to make it strictly professional and they just post, very kind of basic, straightforward content that has to do with their work as an actor or a performer, whatever, your lane may be, writer, director, actor, singer, and kind of keep that very on the professional level. Don't get into personal at all. And then maybe have a completely private personal page. Now, I totally understand that. And I think that that can be effective. But I will tell you what I find the most effective is kind of a hybrid. So I get it. Have a place where your closest friends and family and um, the people who are in your inner circle, if you want to have a place that only they can access so that you can share content with them and life updates and your journey with them differently than you want to put out in the public, then great, do that. But I will say, when we're as casting directors looking at your social media, we're not just looking at the numbers. So yes, it's great if you have a lot of numbers in your social media and you have a big audience, but I will tell you that the numbers really come into play when you're at a really high level. So having 10,000, 20,000 followers, it's great for you. But that isn't going to move the needle as far as a producer saying, let's cast them because they have this great built-in audience. It does show that you're active and that you do have an audience and people who are following your journey, but it's not something that's going to move the needle from a promotional standpoint. Really, that doesn't happen until you get into the hundreds of thousands and nowadays, really million plus. That's where it begins to be it's something that can tip the scale in your favor if there's an understanding or if it feels like your audience on your social platforms is consistent with the audience that they want to communicate with and attract to the film and to the content, then that seems like a potentially really good partnership. And so at that point, it can be an advantage for you. Um, when you have that kind of an audience. But until you get to those numbers, one of the things or the other thing aside from just audience that we look to your social media for is to get a greater understanding of who you are. I always say, like, in the wild, naturally, in your environment, who you are, and just what's your vibe, and what are the things that you post about, which are typically the things you care about. And so again, I'm not looking to see everything about your journey, your deepest, darkest, thoughts and all of that. You can save that for those pages or those places where you connect with your closest circle of people, friends and family. But I would love to see you posting um, a few general updates and pictures of you not necessarily being the actor, but just being you. What are the things that make you happy? Do you love taking a hike in nature? Well, then post that, and pictures where it isn't all sort of posed and being created specifically for the page, as far as like, perfect headshots and perfect poses, but just you enjoying life. Um, I would tell you, now we're in a political year, or an election year. And so, again, it is not for me to tell you what your politics should be, or what you should believe or not believe, or who you should vote for or not vote for. That is not at all what I'm talking about as far as being careful about what you post. You have the right to vote for whoever you want to vote for, and to promote and talk about whatever issues you want to talk about. But you do want to understand that how you talk about those issues, and how you have those kinds of dialogue in forums or in subjects that can be polarizing and that can be very difficult. I would just tell you to be cautious. Again, not trying to tell you to believe or think something one way or another, but be cautious about how you present those thoughts and those ideas, so that it doesn't create more division, or it isn't hate filled, or negative, or again, really, really put you at odds with maybe a different point of view. You you need to be true to yourself, post what is important to you, but I do think there's a way you can do that that maybe won't bring us about more anger or division, but more with a spirit of conversation or dialogue. That's my suggestion. I have seen where very angry, volatile, um, tension-filled rants on social media have caused a producer to step back and be a little hesitant about how that may or may not affect the film or the messaging of the film, or whether it's something that will be at odds with the film. So just be mindful of that. You have to be yourself. You have to talk about and post about the things that are passionate to you. But just be mindful. Be mindful of the tone in which you're communicating, and I don't know. I'm personally going to say let's all be in the spirit of, can we have a dialogue? Can we respect one another and have a dialogue about those things that we have differing opinions about? And can it not be something that leads to volatility and hateful speech, but something that can actually help us to maybe understand another person's point of view if they differ from ours? So social media is a tough one for that because it can become very volatile very quick. So, okay, I'm going to see. I might have missed a question. Okay, Casey, social media questions. Is there any sort of basic posting formula, as in how many times per week? Okay, so I am going to see if Diego can come in and join us. Because the number of posts and all of that, I really wanted to have him or Hailey talk about with us, because I do think there are certain formulas that work and certain kind of schedules or patterns that become effective. And so let's see. So I think Diego's going to try to make his way in quickly. So I'm going to come back to that question. Okay, Casey. So stand by. Stand by. Let's see. Oh, Emily, you saw the forage it. Oh, there you are. You guys, it's Diego. Yay. Hey, Diego.
I am not Hailey.
No, you almost have the same hair as Hailey.
That was one of the first things when I'm like, I know I need to sign Bev, because when we first started our meeting, before we started talking anything business, you were like, you have amazing hair, and that's when I knew.
You knew.
That's when
We
I
were a
knew.
match made in heaven.
That's right. Oh wow, it feels so weird being on this side of that's
Yeah,
Tuesday.
the special guest. So we'll I'm sure Hailey is fine and we'll get that all worked out. We'll have her on another week. But are you good to just jump into the first question from
Yeah, let's do
Casey?
it.
Okay, so Casey Morlett says, is there any sort of basic posting formula, as in how many times per week and reel/photos, to up engagement, and any topics you recommend posting about in between acting content if I'm not comfortable sharing about my family on my public account? And let me say, I totally get it if you're not comfortable sharing about your family or posting pictures of your kids or any of that. So you should never feel like you have to do that or feel compelled to cross a line you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
So anyway, you take it away on the rest of those questions, Diego.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to look for who was the one that asked that?
It was Casey, and it was at 6:43 PM exactly.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I would say this, Casey, I'm looking at your question. In terms of how often or the formula, like based on some statistics, they say it always ranges from a minimum of 2 times a day. Like you should try to post 2 times a day. But I think that question, it's a great question, but I think there's a question you should ask before that, because posting isn't the solution. Posting on social media, the content you post should be a byproduct of the brand that you've already identified. So before choosing what to post on social media, you should first ask yourself and re-examine, what is my content going to be filled with? Because if not, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it. You can follow the formula of posting a certain amount of posts, but if you have not been able to determine your actual brand, you're just going to be posting a lot, and it's not going to have the engagement that you hope it would have. So these would be some of the things that I always write down, that I have whenever I work with some of my clients, in terms of the influencers and the creators that I work with. The number one thing I would say to do is identify your passion and values. Identify what your passions are and identify what your values are in terms of your social media. if you're able to start with that and identify who you are on social media, that's going to help determine what you're going to post, right? Everything we do stems from who we are in life, and everything on your social media, everything you post stems from who you want to be on social media. So the first thing I would say is identify who you want to be on social media, and you can determine that by what are your passions and what are your values, and be clear about that. It can't just be I'm an actor or I'm an actress. That's not enough. That's just you one in the millions, right?
Mhm.
So the way I would say to look at it when you're trying to determine what your brand is, what your niche is think of an upside down triangle, right? So always think of how can you filter it and identify even more specific on what your brand is. That's going to help you out a lot. So I would say start with that before you figure out how often you should post.
Awesome. That makes total sense because if your posts don't have, and correct me if I'm wrong because you're the guru, but if your posts don't have a focus and an intentionality, they're not going to land because they'll be sort of all over the place
Yeah.
and people don't really know and it is interesting because me as a casting director observer, I think that same thing applies because when I'm looking at your social medias wanting to understand kind of who you are and what you're about and what your vibe is, that makes total sense what your brand is, and
Yeah.
I can go to your social media and hear the things that you're talking about, things you're passionate about, and get a better understanding of, the values and things that kind of drive you as a person. So
Because
that
we do
makes
that with
total sense
everything.
to me.
We do that with everything. We think about it, right? When we want to have a certain feeling, as far as a TV show, we know which TV show or movie is going to give us this feeling, or a certain
Mm,
actor or a certain song. Like if we want to be in a certain mood, like if you're gonna go to the gym, you're not going to listen to Michael Bublé, right? That's not what's going to motivate you in the gym. There's a certain sound that if I look this person up, I'm going to listen to this when I'm in the gym. The same thing should be on our social media, which for some of us that are already on social media, there are certain accounts that we follow because we know what we're going to get from that account. Like the most
yep.
successful content creators, like Hailey and Elizabeth Gibson, they've been able to determine, what the value they want to bring into social media. And the second step, after you determine who you are, who you want to be on social media, the second step would be know your audience.
Mm,
Who's going to be your audience. Even in our community that we have right now, there's currently right now on Facebook, there's 55 people that are tuning in, and of these 55, each one of us are going to have a different content, different style, different things that motivate us, excite us on social media.
mhm.
So identify who your audience is. Who are you wanting to share? If you know what the value you want to bring and what passion you have, you got to determine who's going to be my audience to share this content with.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting that you bring up that idea of we follow people because we have a good idea of what they're going to bring to us when we click on them or we see them come up or their story come up. And it's so true because I have a wide range of people I follow. And some of them, I think of Kevin Lawson. I love Kevin Lawson. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy, great social
Hilarious.
media. And he's been doing some acting. So he's actually in our series Blue Ridge. But he sometimes his stuff is goofy, and then other times he does the most poignant, like, encouraging, just sort of centers my soul, and it's interesting because it depends on what I'm looking for that day as to which ones I click on and which ones I watch. When you have all of the stories lined up of people who have stuff posted, sometimes I'll skip around to those that I know I'll get the content that in that moment I need, whether it
Mm,
is a word of encouragement or
exactly.
just a laugh or, whatever it is. But it's true, you do create a brand and sort of your audience can have an expectation as to the kinds of things that they will get from you
Yeah.
by following you. So, okay, next question is from Emily Buckner at 647. Social media question: how do I start partnerships with brands? Dude Dad on Instagram just did a partnership with Crunch Candy Bar. How does an actor obtain the partnerships?
I would say, and not everyone may agree with me, but what I would say is, in terms of social media, and you're saying how would an actor acquire that? I would say stop identifying or viewing yourself as an actor. So as a manager, I don't sign actors or casting directors. I sign creatives because like Beverly is an amazing casting director, but she is so much more than that as well. That's why in the beginning of our of Let's Talk Tuesday, she's
Mhm.
what? She's a coach. She's a speaker. She's a teacher. She's a friend. She's so many things. She's a creative. So as a creative, you're able to do several things. So I would say in that phrase, I know you maybe didn't mean it like that, Emily, but I would say don't view yourself as an actor. I would say view yourself as a creative, because that way, when you step into social media, you're not approaching social media from the lens of an actor. You're approaching it from the lens of a creative, and as a creative, you're able to step out of just being an actor. So in terms of brand deals, that's a great question, because I would say as a manager for content creators and creatives, some of the most consistent forms of income have been through brand deals. And brand deals stem from clear brands from the individual.
Mhm.
Brands want to partner with influencers or content creators on social media that have a clear
Mm.
understanding of what their brands are. I'd
Yeah.
say this as an example. There was one person that I was repping that had over 250,000 followers. The challenge was a lot of their content was reshares of a lot of things that were going on in the news, or different
Mhm.
things about some political stuff. So it was just resharing of that. Did it get a lot of engagement? Yes. Did it get a lot of likes? Yes. Shares? Yes. The challenge was there was no specific brand associated with the individual. So anytime I would pitch this individual to brands, they would get no response. They would not want to budge. And I would pitch somebody with a lower following, but a clearer brand, and they would partner with them. So, Emily,
Interesting. That's really interesting.
to go back to that question, it's you need to determine who you are on social media. It goes back to the first thing: identify your passion and values. Those brand deals that you're wanting to get should stem from your passion and values. One of my content creators is Emily Hutchinson. She's a TV host. She's a baker. She's the sweet life, and it's all about being joyful and being in the kitchen. What kind of brand deals do you think we're getting with her? They're specifically Williams Sonoma, Hershey's, Peeps. We're getting
CNH
brand deals.
sugar,
CNH
right?
Sugar that we locked in, and those brands, as soon as I pitch her, they look at her account, sold, because she is very clear about who her brand is, which is the third thing that I would say for people approaching social media. Number one is identify your passion and values, right? Number two is understand your audience, know who your audience is. And then number three would be consistent, be a consistent voice and visuals about your passion and values. That's
Yeah.
what they want to see. So if you determine what your passion is, right, your values, you know who your audience is, post about it over and over and over. We go back to that first question: how often should you post? Now, after you determine what your passions are, your value, your brand, now post over and over consistently on your social media. Then that question about how do we find these brand deals? Believe it or not, over 50% of the brand deals that we've been able to solidify have been because the brands have been looking for us. So
Mhm.
being able to filter the requests that come in. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
other times I'm out there pitching to these brand deals, but all of that is irrelevant if you don't have a clear brand on your own.
That makes total sense. And, I had a conversation with Hailey, and we will get Hailey on here again, because Hailey also can speak to the e-commerce side of things as well. And so we will have her on and we'll have another conversation about this. But one of the things I was so impressed by was how seriously she took the content creation and the posting of it, and how disciplined and structured she is in doing that every single day. It isn't a casual thing that it's like, "Oh, I'll just post about this." No, she wakes up and she says, "What am I going to post about today? What am I going to create?" In many cases, she's planning days in advance
Yeah.
what she's going to create. And she's like, "Okay, I'll do that on Tuesday of next week. And I'll film this on Wednesday of next week." And she's doing it all. She's setting up the camera. She's doing the lighting. If she's going to do
And
one of her comedy sketches, she's getting the props. Like, she's doing it all. And that really, really impressed me, because it isn't an accident that she has built an audience. It's
no,
a combination of who she is, her natural likability, and just the thing. Her content is good. Her content is attracting an audience, but she's also consistent and reliable to her audience. So, they're getting that ongoing from her, as opposed to, I haven't heard from that person in like a month. You
yeah,
kind of, there's way too many people vying for your attention and for
yes,
your clicks for you to not be consistent. So yeah, it is not something that she just does haphazardly or in her spare time. It is a
yeah,
priority. And
without a doubt.
yeah, hearing you say that, Diego, consistency, how important consistent, and that's something I struggle with. Diego's always the one telling me, like, "I need you to create a post. I need you to do this." It's not something that I'm very proactive about. And that is an area that I need to do better in. And I recognize that based on the people, the Emily Hutchisons Elizabeth and Hailey. Man, they're in it. It's work. It's a part of their professional work day each day.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
okay. Go ahead.
And I would just piggyback on to bring some clarity on the brand deals that people obviously want. There are two different brand deals that you're able to get. You don't need over 100,000 followers in order. I think, yeah, Emily Hutchinson is who we're referencing. Emily Hutchinson, that's right. There's two different brand deals. There is one that is, they pay you to post. They see your brand, let's say, like Peeps, or Hershey's. They reach out to us and they say, "Hey, look, we have this new line that we're going to release. We think you'd be a great fit. What are your rates for you to create a reel using our product?" So then we negotiate a quote for what her reel will cost, and then they pay us for that, and that's it. There's also affiliate brand deals, and the affiliate is when you don't get paid for the reel that you post. You get paid for the purchase, so you get either
Mm.
10% or 15% per purchase if they use your code or if they follow your link. You don't need over 100,000 followers for that. You could be a micro influencer. You could be 5 to 10,000 followers to do the affiliate deals. For us, as we've now garnered a significant following, we don't do affiliate marketing. We do more pay to post. But there are different ways when you're starting off to be able to, as you identify your brand and you're wanting to show that you are brand friendly,
Mhm.
affiliate deals may be a great start for anybody that wants to kind of tap into that.
Yeah, that sounds like a great opportunity, and something. Yeah, if you, I would encourage you guys to learn more about that and research that and understand more about that opportunity, because it may be a great way to start to establish that, so that other brands look at your affiliate type marketing and posting and realize, "Oh, okay, they're well spoken, they know how to communicate, they're good with the audience, they'd be a good fit." Like, they can just see the potential of what you could bring to the table for a paid post situation. Okay, I'm going to go up to Lisa Marie Harms at 650. And Lisa Marie, you have two questions. One isn't social media related, but I will answer it really quickly. But thoughts on finding someone to run a social media for someone else who may not be so good at it. And I'm going to speak to that because I wanted to do it and I had some ideas, but I didn't know how at all to do it. And Diego, provided that for me. So I hear what you're saying as far as partnering with someone. Um, and it's not always easy to find, but I do think there are people who have no desire to be and tell me, Diego, if you agree with this, but they're actually very technically website, social media minded, and they don't want to be in front, but they have the knowledge to help someone else succeed in that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it really also goes back to the individual's budget. If they have a budget to hire a social media team, whether that is, somebody that's young starting off and you want them to manage your social media, or if you're able to hire a social media team online, there's different people that I know that hire a social media team to, they pay monthly and they'll handle your social media, either your Instagram and TikTok, or depending on how many platforms you'd want them to manage, and they'll manage your social media. They'll create some posts for you or some graphics for you, but that really depends on the individual's budget if they're able to afford that. The other
Right.
alternative would be, I don't know what the individual, what line of work they're in, but if you're able to have some type of value that you bring in terms of, if you're a photographer or if you're a videographer, whatever it might be, being able to have an exchange of services, where
Mhm.
you can provide whatever value you can to them, and in turn they can either edit some reels for you. So there's,
Mhm.
like, I think there's different options. I always encourage someone to learn it, especially if they're starting
Mhm.
off. There are baby steps on social media that's, I think, worth learning, but yeah, it
Yeah.
depends on the individual's budget.
It can be overwhelming, but I find it's easier than I think when I actually just decide to dive in. For example, I think about the first time that we were doing our Tuesday nights and Diego was like, "Hey, I can't make it this Tuesday night." And I'm thinking, "Well, then we have to cancel." Like I can't do it by myself. But then, I signed on to StreamYard and I spent some time in advance of the session and really realize that while I don't bring all the bells and whistles to it when I'm by myself,
Mm,
I actually can function and do
yeah,
it. So I think learn what you can, and it just may demystify itself a little bit to where you actually can function better than you realize. You're capable of more
yeah,
than you realize. So,
yeah,
um, Lisa, your second question is working as a stand-in, go on your resume, especially if very well-known production. It depends on what else you have on your resume. If your resume is thin, then sure, I would list it, but like who were you a stand-in for and what was the show if it's well known. If it's not well known or if you have a lot of other credits, then I wouldn't bother with the resume. I mean with the stand-in, but you could if it's going to help you and if it's filling in the blanks for you. So let's see. Brooklyn says, yeah, so I shared about Brooklyn's podcast, Consider the Lilies, and it's with her friend and podcast co-host Megan Fever Year. And so you guys look that up. Let's see. Let me go to the next. Okay, so Valerie Derrick Kite at 6:58. Not sure if this has been addressed since I was late, but what about kids' social media run by parents? Is there something different we should be aware of? Do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, there is a much different level of security
right,
and monitoring that needs to happen in that respect. Most of the parents that I talk to who run their kids' social media campaigns, the kids don't read the comments. The kids don't really have anything other than the content itself. They're very protected from comments, or they don't read comments until the parents have gone through them first,
Yeah.
and all messages. Any other advice for that side of it as far as parents and kids?
Yeah, I would say like assuming, assuming the parent has done the diligence and saying, "Hey, I have no conviction against putting my son on social media or my child on social media." I would say that there is so much fun to be had with if you are managing your kids' social media. One of my friends, he has a son, and the son is he's an artist. He loves making music, and so he manages his son's social media account, and he records him when he's making music or he's in the studio. And one of the big things that we always come back to when it comes to his son is the reminder of allowing the kid to disconnect and still be a child and not be
Mm,
a brand too early. I think
mhm.
it's easy to fall into that trap of no, you gotta post this, you gotta do this, but being able to find moments to get off of social media or allow the
Yeah.
kid to just be the kid when he's going to be on social media and not just focus so much on his image. What I loved about my friend and his son is that he is not at this point so tied into what his brand is going to be as a kid. Right now, it's just fun, and if he's able to post something, he posts it. But I would say in terms of the brand awareness, it still exists. So my friend that I'm mentioning, he makes music, so he gets brand deals when it comes. And this kid is based out in California with his family. He gets brand deals from some headphone companies because he's been
Mm.
wearing headphones. I have another friend of mine. His son is into fishing. So there's a different niche that you can find on social media. So I would just say have fun with it. I just don't really encourage too much when they're under a teenager to be on social media.
Yeah, and what we've been talking about is really adults who are ready to dive
Yeah,
into, the careers or the content. Kids are a different thing. They got to be kids. We got to put limits on the amount of time that they're engaged in social media. We got to have a lot of bumpers there for sure for their protection. They'll get to the age soon enough where they um, we'll deal with all of that.
yeah,
Venus, Monique, thanks for answering Lisa Marie Harms Hampton's question. Lisa Marie, if you didn't see that, Venus Monique answered your questions as well. And Venus, you're always so great about that. So thank you so much for chiming in. I really value your input and the experience you have. Venus is just has a lot of experience and insights. And so, Venus, I appreciate you sharing that. So many of you do that actually. So I just really appreciate that about our little community here. Let's see. Um, let's see. Okay, Monica Graves. I have 9 kids. Wow, Monica. Okay, 9 kids. You are a busy, busy person. 9 kids and do post about family life on social media. It seems that once a casting director knows how many kids I have, I am then only called into their office and booked as mom. Love the bookings, but also would like the opportunity to book more than mom. Any advice on how you get past that? It's interesting. This is where I there's a little bit of the part where at some points I want to say just embrace who you are. Embrace the 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 brand that is most natural, or that embrace the niche that is getting you the work, um as opposed to being frustrated that you're not getting the other roles creatively that you think you might like. And
mm,
I've talked about, I think before, I almost said Justin Bieber. Sorry. Justin Sterner and I have talked about this because he came to me, this was a couple years ago now, and he was saying, "Hey, I'm always getting the best friend, funny sidekick roles, and I want to do something dramatic and edgy. And, as an actor, those are the things that really excite me." And I said to him, you could buck up against the thing that people most want to use you for and miss out on a lot of job opportunities, or you can embrace that, get more and more work, establish yourself so that you have a little more freedom and a little more clout to
Yeah.
then push yourself for the roles that are a little different than what you're known for. So I would say, rather than be frustrated, you're not sounding frustrated, Monica, but rather than kind of saying, "I'm not getting these," focus on the fact that you are getting the ones that's what people are naturally seeing you as. And that happens sometimes with casting. What we see you in the roles that we feel like you fit, sometimes you see yourself differently, or it just comes from a place where you want to do different things. It may not be what's natural to your brand, but you desire it as a creative. And so, as far as the social media aspect of that, um, you're naturally going to show your family. You're naturally going to, that is going to be a huge piece of who you are. But can you be deliberate about showing another side of you? Or can you even talk about, the fact that, yes, I'm a mom, but I'm also this and this and this. These are the other things that I'm passionate about, or, having a real honest conversation about not getting pegged as a mom, or having a life outside of a mom and what that's like for a mom. I'm sure there are times when you're like, can I just be Monica the person and not
Mhm.
Monica the mom for just a little bit? And I know you adore and love your kids, and there's nothing wrong with you saying, "Hey, can I have another piece of me sort of highlighted and featured?" So maybe you use your social media to help show those other sides of you. But for a while, it may be that that's your bread and butter. And that's just how you're viewed, but it's good because you're getting booked as that. Um, and maybe it's through doing your own monologues or self tapes or pieces that are the kind of material that challenge you and put you in a different light, and you upload that. You do a self tape and you upload, some edgy different thing that you connect to, that you feel like you can do a very grounded and real performance of, and post that.
Yeah.
I think you can use the social media to also show other sides of you. And that, again, that's part of what I look to your social media for, is to get a better sense of who you are. um, Performance is first and foremost. Let me not get that at all confused. Performance is first and foremost. But when we're getting down to final decisions, casting decisions, sometimes we just want to have a better understanding of who someone is, and how they might vibe with the team, or the project overall, or how they might be helpful or useful in promoting things like that. That's where we go to the social media to just get another more 360 view of you. But make no mistake, acting performance beats all. You
Mhm.
can't be a bad actor and have great social media and get, well, it could happen. It won't happen with me, and hopefully won't happen with any of the producers, directors I'm working with, because pretty consistently, performance trumps all. So anyway,
I would add to that too, just with
please,
Monica. Um,
please.
if your content on social media, I mean, if it's getting people's attention, they're looking at your social media. What would be like a shock factor is that if there's a lot of content with your kids, but then like what Bev was saying, but then you post some headshots that show this other side of you, that's going to give this shock factor where we're like, oh, I didn't see this side of Monica. Like that's pretty cool to post those pictures. And on the social media side, what I would say that'll make you feel better in terms of being a mom and having those kids, get some social media money. Being a mom and having all those kids, I would say if you're on social media, leverage that. Like Colin said right here, he's paying attention. Know your brand, girl. Mom influencers, moms on social media. There's a lot of opportunity to make money when you recognize. Again, going back to number one, your values, your passion. If you're going to be showing that you're a mom, show how you set up, what breakfast looks like. When you
Mhm.
go, wow, I don't know what age your kids are, but you can get some. There are mom brands or like brands that are wanting to partner with parents that I would just say, if you have kids and you're gonna be on social media, might as well make some money.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, and I would say that's the there there's far more potential for partnerships and brand deals and income being a mom of 9 than there is a casting
Yeah.
director. I'm in a very little niche, not a lot of brands know what to do with a casting director, so mom of 9 can be awesome as far as that goes. So, yeah, take advantage of it to the extent that that works for your family. Venus, again, sharing wisdom. um she says make sure you can bring value to their company, and that's why they seek out partnerships. So that's exactly what Diego was saying. And then she had the idea you could connect with someone small to get started, someone who's starting a makeup company or a jewelry company. Like, just start posting for them in a very small way, or if it's someone and you're going to partnership business wise, and maybe the two of you can grow it to something to where it is providing some income and some following and some audience for you. Yeah, you never know where that could come from. um, Tracy Colmenero, my son and I separate his YouTube creator from his acting. Thoughts, should I put a link to his YouTube page non-acting with his acting social media? Thoughts, Diego?
The way I view it, I'm not a casting director, right? But the way I view it is why separate it? He's
Right,
a creative. Like I was saying
right.
before, don't view him as an actor. You view him as a creative. Like, gone are those days where people are gonna look at you and look at his social media like, oh, hold on, he doesn't have one headshot on the social media. Like, no, they want to see it all. And
Mhm.
you look at these actors, right? If you look at them, they don't open up a different account when they launch a business, right? They tag it to their brand right now, because if The Rock is going to launch some headphones, he's going to be wearing it as he's working out on his social media. So to me, it's if your son is already doing the work and creating some YouTube material, which is great. Uh, the funnel should start with his social media, with his Instagram, right? Like, funnel it through there. Let that go hand in hand with his overall brand. I don't think it needs to be separated. But kudos to y'all and for your son for being on YouTube. In terms of monetization, YouTube pays the most when you get a certain amount of views or followers on YouTube. So that's great that he's doing that. I just would not separate it.
Yeah, and I would say the only exception, which I'm guessing is probably not going to be the case for your son, but is if you have, say, you as an adult, if you have a YouTube platform in which you get very into certain topics that are maybe not as broad public friendly, meaning if you are very passionate or involved politically and you have a channel that's just all about your politics and your views, and that's what you're posting and on YouTube and talking about. I maybe wouldn't merge those. Not that it's a bad thing that people know about it, but it's not quite as compatible. But if your son like is into robots or drones or skateboarding or surfing or doing funny sketches or whatever the thing is that he posts on YouTube, if as long as it's not something that's political, that's potentially polarizing, then I see no reason to separate them. I like looking at actors' pages and seeing things that are non-acting related, because it tells me, especially kids, to be honest, because it tells me that they're well-rounded. They're
Mhm.
a human being that has a life and an existence outside of being an actor. And
Exactly.
yeah, I think it can be a good thing. I know we're going long on time. Let me ask you this question, Jared, because Jared's question to you, Diego, because I think it's very valid. He says it's at 7:13 p.m. He says, I have a mental emotional tug of war between being unfiltered me and posting what strikes me on a given day versus purposely making myself a branded product. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. Wanting to be unfiltered you on your social media, but I think, and I'm not assuming Jared, is a believer.
Yeah,
We're
Jared's one of our faithful Tuesday and was at
focus.
Focus Conference, right? You
Yeah,
remember Jared.
yeah, Jared. He's got cool hair. Um, yeah, yeah. I would say, the idea of being unfiltered us, even apart from social media, we're called to hold our thoughts captive to and put them in submission to the Word of God, right, and to the cross. So I would say not to be unfiltered in everything. Everything's got to be filtered through the gospel and as the Holy Spirit leads. So the unfiltered you may, I don't, I wouldn't encourage unfiltered. I would encourage unfiltered Jesus through you. So whatever you want to speak on, sometimes we want to speak on a certain topic and we want to unleash that. I want to do it oftentimes, but I got to hold those thoughts and my emotions captive to the cross. Sometimes a phrase that I hold on to is everything said must be true, but not everything true must be said. So even on our social media, right? It might be true, you might be feeling that, but it doesn't necessarily mean you should share that. So that's just what came to me first when I heard it, when I read the unfiltered. But then in terms of your brand, I don't think that the idea of being unfiltered is sometimes the wisest thing. And I say that as somebody that has represented several people that have been very vocal on their social media, have been very vocal about certain topics, and they're very unfiltered. And I would say, uh, be unfiltered as the Holy Spirit leads you, but be wise about the consequences that can lead to. There are repercussions through that, even from an unfortunate social media component. It'll lead you to even being shadow banned about certain things. And a shadow ban means that you may have a certain amount of followers. And I'm saying this at firsthand experience, not just it.
Mhm.
Oh, maybe it happens. You post something, and because the meta doesn't like it, you are now shadow banned, and now no one is seeing the information or the post that you're putting. So if the Holy Spirit leads you to post something, leads you to say something, because the Holy Spirit leads you, not because you feel like doing it, your flesh wants you to do it, go ahead and do it, but be mindful that there will be consequences to it. And I would also say, from a brand deal, and brands, as we were talking about social media and brands also do not want to associate themselves with certain unfiltered content on social media. So you may find a brand that is aligns with your beliefs that would want to partner with you, but a lot of brands do not want to partner with you. So that's another consequence that may come from whatever content you feel led to post.
And like I said earlier, your social media is your platform. You post it. It should be true to you. It should be authentic to you. Um, but I think there's a wisdom that you can use if you are also wanting to use your social media for either influence or impact or messaging or monetization, like, then I do think you have to be more selective or thoughtful about what you post, because it will have potential ramifications. If you're not looking to do any of that or have your social media, impact, and you're going to have a private social media account with only your inside people, great, do that, and have a private account and say and do whatever you want. But I do think it is a tool that can be helpful, but in order for it to be helpful, you just have to have some wisdom about it. And I agree. But as believers, the Holy Spirit trumps all, right? If the Holy Spirit is leading you to say something or take a stand on something or to post something, then follow your heart, follow the Spirit. And that can be also the same for um, posting something encouraging or posting a scripture and say, I just feel this is on my heart right now and I just want to share it because maybe someone needs it, and you share it. It can be as simple as that. But yeah, go with what your gut or the Holy Spirit is kind of telling you. But
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, Jared, that between being fully you and unfiltered and relaxed. And I guess when I was talking about that earlier, like the unfiltered part or the just being you, um, I guess I meant outside of the sort of controlled actor image, which is, perfect headshots, hair always perfect, always in the perfect clothes,
Mhm.
posed, um, everything being so polished and planned. Sometimes it's nice just to see your hair a mess and you just enjoying nature or, whatever the case may be. That's what I mean by unfiltered or just sharing, like I just said, sharing something that's just on your heart that day that you feel like you want to share that
Yeah.
isn't necessarily going to get you a job as an actor, but it's just something that's on your heart. Those are the kinds of things that can be very endearing and
Yeah.
attractive. So I see Peggy shot. I want to Peggy says, and I feel your discouragement, Peggy. That's what I'm going to read that. So Peggy Schott's comment, Diego's at 7:14. It says, it seems as if it is not possible to just be an actor. We have to be social media influencers and sell ourselves as a brand and build on an online audience in order to work as an actor. And that is not the case. So us highlighting social media and talking about social media is not to say that you have to do this in order to get work as an actor. That
Mhm.
is not the case. But if you are going to use social media, or if it's something you enjoy doing, that's our conversation is, okay, well, if you enjoy doing it or you want to venture into that because you want to, increase an audience or use it as a platform, then we're talking about, okay, you want to do that, let's talk about how you do that. But as an actor, you don't have to have all of that. Trust me, there are plenty of actors that submit and who I audition who have no social media presence. There's plenty of name actors that literally
Yeah.
have no social media presence. They don't want to, they're not going
Right.
to. And so, Peggy, don't feel discouraged like you have to do this. And also, don't make that your scapegoat. Like, well, I'm not getting any work because I don't have social media. It isn't that. What we're saying is it is a tool that you have available to you, and it can be a tool that can be used for good if it's something you're so inclined to do and something you are comfortable doing. Great. Then let's talk about how to use that tool to its greatest impact possible. But it's just one tool. Being a great actor is the most important tool. I'd rather you spend your time getting the right training and getting great, working with a great teacher and doing that first and foremost so that you as an actor are as strong as you can be, and then start adding these secondary tools to the tool belt. So, Peggy, don't be discouraged. You don't have to do all of those things, but you should know the resources and the tools that are available to you. And if there may come a time that you want to venture into it, it's good for you to have some knowledge about how it works and how to maximize it and use it to the best advantage. So
Yeah. Can I add to that too? Like
please.
everything we do share is just it. Hey, these tools are available. It's an opportunity, not because you have to do it. And I would also say, as a manager, everything I'm sharing, like you don't have to be an actor and be active on social media. I just wouldn't ever sign you because knowing this industry, if all you're doing is acting, it's a challenging world financially, right? And everyone in this on in this community can attest to that, right? It's a challenging thing. So for me and for my clients, I want to make sure that they can do what they want to do, but currently doing what they have to do. And because there's an opportunity there, they're wanting to leverage that, And as a manager, I want them to leverage that, right? Not
Mhm.
denying their development of their craft as an actor, but because it's available as an opportunity to develop their creativity, an opportunity to raise awareness within their network, and an opportunity to make a kingdom impact by being a light on social media that can be very dark, and an opportunity to make money. And one of the questions that Gigi had was, has a director ever said, "Oh yes, I recognize her from social media"? I'll share a story that just happened last weekend. So one of my clients was Hailey. Actually, she was in Miami and she was traveling. So she wrapped up. Oh man, here's opportunity from social media. I won't take too long, Bev, but it just goes
That's
hand in hand
okay.
with this, right? So when people wonder, the social media or influencers, does that help within even the faith film world, right? So here's a perfect example. So one of my clients, right, there's a movie that's going to be coming out soon, and these producers and the distribution company was like, we really need to get, but Hailey has like 1 million followers. That's not true. Hailey has less than 400,000 followers on her social media. It might seem like she has a million because she is consistently posting, but she doesn't have 1 million followers. She's not one of the biggest influencers, though. No, she doesn't have 1 million followers. And that's not why she got noticed either. But so one of these producers in the distribution company is wanting to connect with the Christian audience. And you know what they're doing? They recognize these influencers that are Christian and built this brand have this audience. So you know what this distribution company is doing, and it'll be announced soon. They contracted about 8 influencers, Christian influencers, flew them into Nashville to get a sneak peek of the movie, and then to set up a round table with one of the directors from the movie to just talk about the gospel and talk about the movie, so that these influencers could then post about it, right? So what did that do? That provided these influencers with an opportunity to go to another city and travel for free. It also provided these influencers as a way to make some money. It offered them an opportunity to connect with other influencers and talk about Jesus. And it put these influencers who want to be actors, they're not at this level yet. It put them in front of a director. So
Mhm.
they could just go in there and be like, all right, let's make some influencer money, or they can take advantage of that opportunity. So I told my client, take advantage of that opportunity, build with this person, right?
Right.
Then she's
Right.
flying back home and she ends up going to Miami, Florida to just visit a friend. And they went to the beach, right? In the beach, David A.R. White and his team end up being there, right? They recognize her and they said, "Hey, our uh, uh, our actress from the movie that we're going to be shooting is not able to make it. Would you be available to shoot this movie?" Right there on the beach. How did that happen? Was it because she had 1 million followers? No, it's because she's been networking and taking advantage. I'm there. I've connected David to her. David started following her. David started seeing how she's posting consistently on her social media. And that's what it led to. So, yeah, to answer that question, has a director ever done that? Yeah, at the beach,
Yeah.
not even in her home.
Yeah, and we have to remember in this whole thing, God is in it all, right? We can talk about all the tools we're going to do and all the efforts we're going to make and all the steps we're going to take, but ultimately God is driving our paths, those of us who are following him, and whose lives, our lives, we want to be in God's path and in God's will. So God is in that too. It
Right.
is a matter of being available for those opportunities, and being consistent, so that those opportunities may come our way,
And be
for
ready for
sure.
them. Be ready, Bev. You
And be
mentioned
ready. Yeah,
earlier something
prepared and
about
ready.
you mentioned about like I forgot what you said, but it was a great quote. You said something about good acting trumps all, like good performance
Mhm.
trumps all. That got Haley attention, right? But you know what
Yes.
she still had to do? She still had to audition for it. So if
Right.
she hasn't been developing on her downtime, preparing for such a
Yes.
time as that, it wouldn't have meant
Yep.
anything. So you still have to develop your craft.
Yeah, exactly. They wouldn't. I know David. I've worked with David. They're not going to put someone in who, yeah, isn't good. So the fact that she's been working on that and deliberate about that, as well, then yeah, it's preparation meets opportunity, right?
Exactly.
That's the saying. So Katie says, I'm still hesitant with the TikTok world. Do you guys, the industry, look at TikTok and like finding talent on there, even if they can't nail the TikTok dances? Katie, you're so funny. I personally, TikTok is the one platform that I have not been very active on. I It's not to say that I won't venture on there. It has not been a huge place, but I will say it is somewhere that people find talent. TikTok actually is a huge platform for discovering sort of like if I know I'm working on a musical that'll come up, I think the first of the year. I don't know for sure that it's going to happen yet, but I'm thinking to myself, I need to go on TikTok and I need to start seeing, those dancer singers, young up and comers, finding who's the next Hailey Bieber or whoever the case might be, but and you think, okay, that's one source. It's not the only source. It's not like we don't do casting calls and we don't go, but it is one resource for searching out and finding people we may not be as familiar with. So, TikTok, I just say do what you feel comfortable doing. Don't don't venture into something if you don't think you can be consistent with it, cuz I don't know that it'll be a positive for you, and anything you're not comfortable with. If TikTok is a platform you're not comfortable with, the reason I haven't ventured into it is mostly because I know myself, and I know I'm going to go down rabbit holes just scrolling through TikTok myself. And so I've kind of kept that as like, no, I will not go on TikTok, so that I don't get distracted myself just watching content I could probably watch all day.
Yeah.
We all have our reasons and our things we're comfortable with. So it's not like you have to do any of this. Going back to, what we were saying earlier, you don't have to have social media, Peggy, in order to be an actor. But if you're going to do it, then use it, you use it wisely, use the tool for exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So we have lots more. Jared, I love what you said. Jared said, I had a coach who said, what's the last part of typecast? It's cast. He said, that stuck with me, and that's great, right? Typecast does mean you are getting cast. So
Yeah.
it's not always a bad thing to embrace that, and yet still feel free to push yourself
Yeah.
outside. Okay, so there's lots more questions. There's a lot more we can talk about. So we'll work to get Hailey back on the schedule, and we'll
Yeah.
talk more about this and address some of these questions, and expand the conversation a bit and get her perspective, and also the e-commerce perspective. So yeah, we'll get that on the calendar, and we'll maybe look at a few of these questions and keep up in our queue for another time.
Yeah.
And then next week we're going to have a conversation with the director and writer of These Stones, which is a new series coming out on Up, Faith and Family. And so that's going to be great. And then the week after that, we're actually going to have the cast, some of the primary cast members from that series, have a conversation with those actors. So we have a lot of good stuff coming up.
Yeah, I have two announcements, Bev,
Great.
to share. So if you do want to know more about social media and
Yes.
the e-commerce world, Hailey and Elizabeth are they launched a workshop. And if you want more information, go to theanthemcollective.com /digital foundations to learn more about the workshop. And if you
Yes.
want to be a part of that, they'll go more in depth. And if you appreciated anything I shared, you'll really appreciate what they shared. They go in much more detail and tools that you can use. So if you want to know more about social media, launching e-commerce, this workshop is going to be at the end of September. Go to theanthemcollective.com for it.
And they're great. I mean, the knowledge they have firsthand. Hailey has a degree in marketing, and so hers goes even broader than just her own experience. It's her education that she was able to bring to the table as well. And Elizabeth, they have so much to talk about, and it really does deserve more than just the limited time we have here, for sure.
And then the second announcement is there was a cancellation for tomorrow in terms of coaching with Bev. So this always ends up getting snatched quick. So I'm posting it here first. Tomorrow, there is an opening for Bev one-on-one coaching, 12 to 1 Eastern. It's available. If you want to snag that, send me a DM, and I'll make sure to book that for you. So it's tomorrow from 12 to 1. Send me a DM if you want that one-on-one coaching with Bev. So just wanted to share that.
Okay. Well, wow. This was a big night. We talked a while. Diego, it was so fun having you on camera with us, and it just reminds me how much wisdom and insight you have, and so much to share. And I'm just so privileged and honored that I get to partner with you, and that you have agreed to partner with me. But I love you as a brother, and give great love to your sweet wife. And you guys keep them in your prayers, because they just moved to Nashville. So they're just getting moved in and settled. And his wife, Jazz, has a brand new job. So she's learning the whole new job and environment and all of that. So lift them up in prayer this week, if you would. That would be wonderful. And so love and appreciate you so much. And we, Diego and myself, love and appreciate all of you who are in our Let's Talk Tuesday family. We really just cherish our time with you, and hope this is an encouragement and helpful to you. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I'll see you next week. Bye.